Good morning, gardening friends. It's now Monday morning. Not all that long since the last bit I shot showing you that I had no sprouts, but this morning I got up and took a look at this and I found, and I'm hoping you can see it, my first sprout. It's up in this one right here, the second from the right on the top, and I really hope that's coming out. Anyway, that's the first one, and oddly enough, as far as the experiment goes and as far as my understanding, that's in a green section here, and a green, as I understood it, would probably mean not much growing or not much help. So I don't know what's going on with that, but we'll keep following. Good early afternoon, gardening friends. It's now lunchtime on Tuesday, and I made a little change last night. Let me show you, because I had a plant that started growing, and we'll look at that in a minute, but because it was getting bigger I decided to add another section of egg crate here. It was down here before, and this is a little spacer. So let's take a look. Hopefully you can see in this one cell here we've got a plant that's getting rather tall rather quick. As for the rest of them, let me look at it in better light here. I got to really improve the lighting for my shooting here, but I don't see any more sprouts. So that's it for today. That one's under the green. This really kind of defies logic, but I'll give them a couple of squirts and we'll see what we get tomorrow. Well, I just went to go check something else and I realized this is probably going to be really hard to see here. There's another sprout in here, and these were the peas. This was the nasturtium. So that's a nasturtium there that's starting to sprout, and they're both in the green. This is really counter to what I had understood about the color of lights. But then again, I don't know for sure that these lights have the proper wavelengths to really do the experiment. So we'll just keep following it and see what happens. Good afternoon, gardening friends. It is now Tuesday at the tail end of my lunch break, and if you look you can see that I've got a bean that's growing rather quickly right through the extension layer there, and actually getting so tall that I'm pretty much going to have to pull it out because the lights are just going to burn the heck out of it. But I was thinking about it last night, and while green supposedly has no effect on growing, maybe what the reason why everything's germinating into green so quickly is because it's equivalent to having no light, and many seeds prefer to have darkness to germinate. I mean, they're under the soil if you think about it, so they want that darkness. Now on the other hand, this bean is growing super fast. I mean, it's gone from just barely poking through the soil to being this tall in a couple of days. But the green light, maybe it's a benefit as far as germination, and the other colors would be a benefit as far as growing. So I'm thinking of another experiment where I'll actually have two containers. One will be completely closed off from the light, and the other one will be exposed to the light, and we'll see which one grows faster. So I may set that up and I'll show you. Meanwhile, there is another development here. Let me try and carefully pull this out, hopefully without destroying. I have one more that has germinated, and let me see if I can get this in frame here. It's this one here, which has been exposed to the red light. So we'll see how quickly that one grows, but I may have to pull one from the experiment just because it's getting too tall. That's it for today's update. Good morning, gardening friends. It's now bright and early on Thursday morning. I haven't even had my coffee yet. Yesterday I was a little off. I kept saying it was Tuesday. It was actually Wednesday, and I already know I missed one thing, but I wanted to give you a quickie view of the back of my stove. I know that seems a little odd, but you can actually see this is an apartment, and the way they've got things set up, the stove that used to be in here when the place was built did not have a back like it does here. It ran all the way to this level here, or to this edge here without having this part that comes up. They don't make those anymore in electric stoves and so on. So ultimately this is the only solution they've got, unless they want to completely modify this entire countertop. And as with most departments, you know, there are certain decisions they have to make, and I learned a lot of this in the last few years. This is my water boiling for my coffee that you hear in the background. So ultimately, to cover up the back of this thing, I decided to buy a bunch of little pots like this, and I'm going to plant things. And this is that bean that I was looking at yesterday that was just getting way too tall. I'm going to give it a little bit more water. I'm going to hope that it's going to live. I also wanted to show you that if I turn off the main source of light, I've still got the light up above the stove. So I'm going to use that as a source of light, and we'll see if that actually generates, or if it helps the plants to grow. If not, I'm going to go ahead and get one of those grow lights, and I'm going to stick it in there so that we'll have that source of light, and I can leave that on all day, and it won't consume too much energy. So that's what it looks like behind the stove. And this here is our light experiment with the coffee now actually brewing. I actually boil the water before I pour it in the coffee pot. It tends to work better than the heating element in the coffee pot. Anyway, the thing I missed yesterday, let me go over that first, was that I actually had another sprout right here. Sorry, trying to get that in frame. So that one surprised me. That showed up yesterday morning, and hopefully you can see about where it is. This is the other one that had sprouted the day before, and it's getting rather tall and actually starting to concern me that I'm going to have to pull this one and plant it somewhere. The one problem with this experiment that I hadn't anticipated was just how tall these plants were going to get, how quickly they were going to get tall. So, and this is the other, the one that popped up yesterday. That's a bean. The other two are nasturtium. That said, I'll have to figure out what to do. They are growing rather quickly, and let me take a quick look and see what else we've got. I don't know how well you can see it. This is about the only other thing worth mentioning in the current garden. This is the herb planter, and you can see, if I turn it right, I'm hoping you can see that the plants, the little seedlings there, are all headed over towards this side of the planter. Well, I have this in the window on the other side of the room, with the window being on this side. So I think that's what's going on with that. So what I usually do with plants like that is I'll just turn them 180 degrees, and we'll see if they actually straighten out a little bit. But that's pretty much it for this one. Now I have the other experiment I mentioned yesterday, and I'm going to go ahead and start working on that. So I have two containers like this, tiny little containers, and the experiment was just simply to see when germinating seeds, and obviously these bean seeds germinate like crazy. It may take a few days before I see anything, but I've got these little containers, and I've got seeds which I've been soaking, and I wanted to see if the difference between light and dark for germination. I know that there are some seeds that prefer to be germinated on the top of the soil because they require the light for germination, but most of them, as I understood it, require the dark, or prefer the dark, and honestly, if they're buried under the soil, they're pretty much dark. But I'm wondering if some light somehow makes it through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these containers, I'm going to plant them both equally, and then with one of these containers I'm going to put it in the window, and the other one I'm going to put in a cupboard. And I'll just pull them out each day and take a look and see where they are, and we'll see what happens with that. Alright folks, well there you go. That's two more or less equally planted. I'm sure there's some variable I'm not considering. I didn't measure the water quite as carefully as I could have, but more or less equally planted. 2 seeds in each, just to make sure in case one seed's a dud that it doesn't affect the experiment. One's going in a cabinet and one's going to sit right out in the kitchen here, so we'll see what happens. I think that's it for today.